You pathetic waste of space. How dare you waste my daughter's time with houses you could never afford in a million lifetimes? You've dragged her down into your miserable little life long enough, and I'm done watching you pretend to be something you're not. Please, before we continue, do not forget to like, share and subscribe. Patricia Thornwood's voice echoed across the porch of 47 Maple Street, her perfectly manicured finger jabbing toward John Wilcox's chest. Her face was flushed red, veins bulging in her neck, designer sunglasses perched on her head like a crown of judgment. John stood frozen, keys dangling from his hand, his worn jeans and faded university t-shirt suddenly feeling heavier under her glare. His old Honda sat in the driveway behind him, his mother's car, fully restored but still bearing the dents and character of 2 decades on the road. Patricia, if you just wait for Sandra to arrive, I can explain. Explain what? That you're squatting? That you convinced some fool to let you show this property? Or worse, that you've done something illegal to get access to a house so far beyond your pathetic means. She was absolutely certain. Certain in the way only someone who's spent 30 years selling real estate could be. She knew the neighborhood. She knew the market. And she knew, without a shadow of doubt, that a man who drove a 2003 Honda and wore clothes from Target could never, ever own a house like this. Give me those keys right now before I call the police. My daughter deserves better than your pathetic fantasies. John's jaw tightened. His fingers closed around the keys. Patricia, please. Let's wait for Sandra. This is supposed to be a surprise. The slap came fast and sharp, the crack of palm against cheek echoing like a gunshot. John's head snapped to the side, his glasses flying off and clattering against the porch railing. A red handprint bloomed instantly across his face. Give me the keys. Patricia shrieked, her hands still raised, trembling. My daughter is not touring some house you're pretending to afford. John touched his burning cheek, his eyes watering, not from pain but from something deeper. Something that looked like disappointment mixed with resignation. Patricia, he said quietly, his voice steady despite the ringing in his ears. You just made a very expensive mistake. Are you threatening me? You can't even afford. This isn't a threat. It's a fact. John reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone and held it up. You just assaulted the owner of this property. Patricia's mouth opened, then closed. Her hands slowly lowered. Behind them, the Victorian house stood silent and magnificent, its restored windows gleaming in the afternoon sun, the wraparound porch freshly painted, the garden blooming with late-season roses. She had no idea who she just hit. But she was about to find out why you should never judge a man by his car. 3 months earlier, John Wilcox sat in a crowded auction house, surrounded by men in tailored suits and women dripping with jewelry. He looked like he'd wandered in from a construction site. Faded jeans, scuffed work boots, a simple black hoodie. The auctioneer's voice boomed through the room. Next property, the Ashford Estate, 47 Maple Street. Victorian construction, 1892. 4 bedrooms, original hardwood throughout. Starting bid, $600,000. Paddles flew up around him. John sat perfectly still, watching, calculating. 700, 750, 800,000. A woman beside him whispered to her husband, "Isn't that the house where that cleaning lady used to work? What was her name? Maria something?" John's hand tightened on his paddle. 850,000. Do I hear 9? The bidding slowed. Only 3 paddles remained active. John waited. 900,000. Going once. $1 million. Closed today. The room went silent. Every head turned. The auctioneer blinked. Sir, did you say? 1 million. Cash payment. I can close this afternoon. A man in a 3-piece suit laughed. Who let the janitor in? John didn't even glance at him. His eyes stayed locked on the auctioneer. Sold. To bidder 73. 2 hours later, John sat across from a stunned real estate attorney, sliding a cashier's check across the mahogany desk. The lawyer examined the check, then the documentation, then John's face. Mr. Wilcox, this is the largest cash purchase I've seen in a decade. Your wife must be over the moon. She doesn't know yet. I'm sorry? It's our 5th anniversary in 3 months. I'm restoring it as a surprise. The lawyer leaned back, concerned. That's quite a gamble, keeping a $1 million purchase secret. John pulled out an old photograph, a woman in a cleaning uniform, smiling tiredly at the camera, standing in front of the same house. My mother cleaned this house for 15 years. She scrubbed these floors on her hands and knees so I could go to college. The Ashfords, the family who owned it, they were kind to her. To me. His voice caught. She died with $47 in her bank account. I bought this house so she could finally rest here. So we could honor her. The lawyer slid the deed across the desk without another word. Outside, John sat in his mother's old Honda, the car she'd driven to this very house thousands of times, and allowed himself one moment to cry. Across the street, hidden behind tinted windows, Patricia Thornwood lowered her camera. She'd been following him. Sandra Wilcox stirred her coffee absently, staring at the stack of medical bills covering her kitchen table. $47,000. The number seemed impossible, like something from another family's life. Her mother's voice cut through her thoughts like a knife through butter. Sweetheart, I'm not trying to interfere, but when was the last time John took you somewhere nice? Patricia had arrived unannounced, again, with expensive wine and that particular smile that meant trouble. Mom, we're fine. We just had unexpected expenses. That's exactly what I mean. Patricia poured wine into Sandra's mug without asking. A real husband protects you from stress. He doesn't add to it. Your father would have never let you worry about money like this. Sandra's grip tightened on her mug. Dad's gone, Mom. And John isn't him. Patricia's expression shifted, softening into something that looked like concern but tasted like poison. She reached across the table and took Sandra's hand, her thumb brushing over the thin scar on Sandra's wrist. A scar Patricia had caused 20 years ago during an argument, when she grabbed too hard and squeezed too tight. You almost died when you were born, Sandra. Did you know that? 60 hours of labor. They told me you wouldn't make it. But I fought for every breath you took. Her eyes glistened with practiced tears. I just want you to have the life you deserve. The life I fought to give you. Sandra felt the familiar weight settle in her chest. The guilt, the obligation, the suffocating sense that she owed her mother her very existence. I know, Mom. I know. After Patricia left, Sandra found herself staring at the bills again. John had been working late every night for months, coming home exhausted, smelling like paint and sawdust. When she asked where he was, he just smiled and said, "Working on our future." She wanted to believe him. She did believe him. But her mother's words had planted seeds of doubt that grew like weeds in the quiet moments. That night, Patricia sat in her car outside a Gamblers Anonymous meeting she'd never attend, scrolling through her bank statements. Negative $180,000. Foreclosure notices. Loan denials. She pulled up Sandra's credit report, the one she'd been using without permission, and felt her stomach twist with guilt and desperation. One more loan. Just one more and she could fix everything. Her fingers hovered over Sandra's forged signature. Sandra woke at 2:47 a.m. to an empty bed. Again. She reached for her phone, squinting against the brightness. John's location showed 47 Maple Street. She typed the address into Google Maps. The street view showed a massive Victorian house, clearly expensive, clearly out of their league. Her heart sank into her stomach. She texted him, "Where are you?" 3 minutes passed. Then, "Working late. Love you." Almost done with the surprise. Sandra sat in the darkness, her mother's voice echoing in her head. Men who hide things are men who lie. What she couldn't see was John, standing alone in what would become their living room, painting the walls soft lavender, her favorite color since childhood. Their wedding song played softly from a Bluetooth speaker covered in paint splatters. He'd been working on the house every night for 3 months, personally handling every detail. The reading nook with built-in shelves for her mystery novels. The sunroom where she could do yoga in the mornings. The office space for her social work files. John paused at the doorway to the room he'd kept exactly as it was. The old servants' quarters where he'd done homework as a boy while his mother cleaned. Now it was a memorial. His mother's photograph in an ornate frame, her last paycheck stub from the Ashfords preserved under glass, her old apron hanging on the wall like a sacred relic. "She would have loved her, Mama," he whispered to the photograph. "Sandra's everything you raised me to find. I wish you could have met her." His phone buzzed again. "Sandra, I trust you. See you in the morning." He typed back with paint-stained fingers, 2 more days. Then no more secrets. "I promise." What neither of them knew was that Patricia sat in her Mercedes 2 houses down, telephoto lens aimed at John through the window. She'd been documenting his suspicious behavior for weeks, building a case to prove what she already believed, that he was either hiding assets in a divorce, having an affair, or involved in something criminal. The truth, that he was simply preparing a surprise, never entered her mind. Patricia Thornwood didn't believe in surprises. She believed in evidence, control, and protecting her daughter from men who reminded her of the husband who destroyed her youth. Sandra arrived at her mother's house expecting lunch. Instead, she found a man in a suit sitting at the dining table with a leather briefcase. "Mom, what is this?" Patricia stood, her face arranged in an expression of maternal concern. "Sweetheart, this is Mr. Richardson. He's a family attorney. He specializes in protecting women in difficult marriages." The room tilted. "I'm leaving. Your husband is sneaking around at night, Sandra. I have proof." Patricia opened her iPad, swiping through photos: John's car at Maple Street at 3 a.m., John entering the house alone, John leaving hours later looking exhausted. He's either hiding money, seeing someone, or involved in something illegal. Either way, you need to protect yourself before it's too late. Sandra stared at the photos, her world fracturing. "You followed my husband?" "I followed my instincts. And they've never been wrong about men like him. Men who promise everything and deliver nothing. Men who what, Mom? Men who aren't rich enough for you? Men who don't drive Mercedes and wear Rolex watches." Patricia's face hardened. "Men like your father's friend James. You don't remember him, but I do. Charming, broke, full of promises. Your father loaned him $50,000 for a business opportunity. James disappeared. The money was gone. Your father never told you because he was ashamed. It was a lie. James was a fiction Patricia had invented years ago, but it sounded true enough. I won't watch you suffer because you're too naive to see what's in front of you." Sandra's phone rang. John's name lit up the screen. "Hey beautiful. Can you meet me at 47 Maple Street tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I have something to show you. Something I've been working on for months." Patricia watched her daughter's face closely. Sandra's voice shook. "Okay. I'll be there." After Sandra left, Mr. Richardson closed his briefcase. "Mrs. Thornwood, I should mention, I couldn't find any evidence of financial misconduct in Mr. Wilcox's records. His business is successful and properly documented. Are you certain about these allegations?" Patricia handed him a check for the consultation. "I'm certain he's hiding something. And I'm going to prove it before he destroys my daughter's life." What she didn't say was that she'd already planned to arrive at Maple Street first. Patricia pulled up to 47 Maple Street at 1:30 p.m., 30 minutes before Sandra was supposed to arrive. The house looked even more stunning in daylight, restoration work clearly completed, gardens professionally landscaped, the porch gleaming with fresh paint. Her confusion deepened. How had John gotten access to this property? Then she saw him, emerging from the front door with keys in hand, checking his watch, smiling like he'd just won the lottery. Rage, pure and hot, flooded through her veins. This man, this nobody who'd stolen her daughter, who drove a car held together with prayers, who'd probably never earned more than $60,000 in a year, was pretending to show her daughter a house like this? Patricia stormed across the lawn, her heels sinking into the grass. "What kind of game are you playing?" John turned, his smile fading. "Patricia? Sandra isn't here yet." "Exactly. Because I'm here to stop this charade before you humiliate her further." She was screaming now, months of suppressed fury erupting. "You dragged my daughter into your delusions long enough. She deserves a real man, a real future, not whatever fantasy you've constructed. If you just wait 5 minutes I can explain." "I've waited 5 years. 5 years watching you keep her in that cramped apartment, watching you pretend your little computer business is something special, watching you fail to provide the life she deserves." John's voice dropped, firm and cold. "I need you to leave. Now. This is between me and Sandra." "Oh, you're giving me orders? In a house you're pretending to afford." She laughed, shrill and mocking. "What did you do, John? Bribe the realtor? Break in? Or is this another one of your sad little schemes?" She stepped closer, invading his space, her finger jabbing at his chest. "You are nothing. You were nothing when Sandra met you, and you're nothing now, and I will not stand by and watch you drag her through another one of your pathetic." "Patricia, I'm asking you nicely one last time. Give me those keys." "No." The slap echoed across the neighborhood. John's glasses flew off. His cheek exploded in red. "How dare you tell me what to do? Give me those keys right now." A car door slammed behind them. "Amo, what did you just do?" Sandra ran up the porch steps, her face a mixture of shock and horror. John stood with his hand against his burning cheek, his glasses lying broken on the wooden planks. "Did you just hit him?" Patricia's hand was still raised, trembling. This is some kind of scam, Sandra. He's pretending to own this house, he's lying to you again." "You don't know what you're talking about," John said quietly, bending to pick up his glasses. One lens was cracked. "Don't I? Then explain how you could possibly afford this." Patricia gestured wildly at the house. John pulled out his phone with steady hands despite the adrenaline coursing through him. He opened a folder, found a document, and held it up. This is the deed, Patricia. John Wilcox, sole owner. Paid in full. Cash purchase. 3 months ago. The color drained from Patricia's face. Sandra's mouth fell open. You bought a house? For us. John's voice cracked. For our anniversary. I've been fixing it up every night. That's why I've been working late. That's what the surprise was. He unlocked the front door. It swung open to reveal gleaming hardwood floors, restored crown molding, and afternoon light streaming through original stained glass windows. Sandra stepped inside, her hand over her mouth. The entryway opened into a living room painted her favorite lavender. To the left was a reading nook, her name carved into a wooden sign above built-in shelves already filled with her favorite mystery novels, books John had been secretly buying and hiding for months. The kitchen had been fully renovated with white subway tiles and butcher block counters. On the wall was a photo collage of their relationship. Their first date at the community center, their courthouse wedding, camping trips, quiet mornings. At the center was an empty frame labeled, "Our first day here." Sandra's tears fell freely now. John, I can't, how did you? Patricia stood frozen in the doorway, her brain refusing to process what she was seeing. Well, she said, her voice sharp with desperation. Well, how was I supposed to know? You sneak around, you hide things, you act suspicious. This is your fault for being secretive. John turned to her slowly. My fault? I planned a surprise for my wife, and you assaulted me because you assumed I was too poor to deserve her. I was protecting her. From what? From happiness. John walked across the living room to a door marked private. His hand rested on the doorknob. There's something else I need to show you both. He opened the door. Inside was a small room, perfectly preserved. Old wooden floors, a single window with lace curtains, a simple desk and chair. On the wall hung a black and white photograph of a woman in a cleaning uniform, smiling tiredly but warmly at the camera. Sandra stepped closer, recognizing John's mother from the few photos he'd shown her. This was the servants' quarters, John said softly. When Mama worked here, this is where I'd sit and do my homework after school. I was maybe 8 years old the first time she brought me. The Ashfords, the family who owned this house, they were kind. Mrs. Ashford would bring me cookies and books. She told me I was smart. That I could be anything. His voice broke. Mama cleaned this house for 15 years. She scrubbed these floors on her hands and knees. She'd come home with her back aching, her hands raw, but she never complained. She worked 3 jobs so I could go to college. He touched the photograph gently. She died when I was 19. Fell asleep at the wheel driving home from her night shift. She had $47 in her bank account. Sandra covered her mouth, sobbing. When the Ashfords passed and the house went to auction, I tracked it down. I bought it so Mama could finally rest here. So we could honor her. Every night I've spent here, I felt her presence. Every room I restored, I did it thinking, what would Mama want for us? He turned to Patricia. You called me nothing. You said I was beneath your daughter. But my mother, who you just mocked by assuming I couldn't own the house she dedicated her life to, she taught me that a person's worth isn't in their car or their clothes. It's in their character. The room was silent except for Sandra's quiet crying. Patricia's face had gone pale. She opened her mouth then closed it. John's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and his expression hardened. Patricia, we need to talk. About the loan applications. Sandra's head snapped up. What loan applications? Patricia's eyes went wide with panic. John pulled out his laptop from a bag near the door. He'd brought it specifically for this moment. He opened it to reveal a folder of documents. Bank statements, credit applications, financial records. For the past 6 months, I've been monitoring our credit because of the medical bills. That's when I noticed something strange. He turned the screen toward Sandra. Loan applications in your name. 4 of them. Totaling $180,000. Sandra stared at the screen, her face going white. I never applied for any loans. I know. John's voice was gentle with her, hard as steel toward Patricia. The signatures are forged. The applications all list your mother's address as your residence. The money went into accounts that feed directly to your mother's creditors. Patricia backed toward the door. You've been spying on me? I've been protecting my wife from identity theft. John pulled up another document. Your gambling debts, Patricia. Casino transactions. Online poker. Sports betting. You've lost over $300,000 in 3 years. Sandra couldn't breathe. Mom? Your mother isn't wealthy anymore. She's drowning. Her house, the one she's so proud of, has a foreclosure notice. The Mercedes is leased and 3 months behind on payments. Everything is a facade. Patricia's carefully constructed mask shattered. I was going to pay it back. I just needed time. I needed Sandra home so I could. So you could use her salary to cover your debts, John finished coldly. That's why you've been pushing her to leave me. That's why you pretended we were poor. You needed her income to survive your mistakes. Sandra walked to her mother slowly, her face a mixture of grief and rage. The medical bills. You offered to help pay them. Were you ever going to help? Patricia couldn't meet her eyes. You were going to use my credit crisis to manipulate me. To make me think John couldn't take care of me. To make me leave him and come home where you could. Sandra's voice broke. Where you could control me and use me. You don't understand. Patricia shouted. After your father died, everything fell apart. The investments failed, the money dried up. I was trying to survive. By destroying your daughter's credit? By committing fraud. Patricia's face crumpled, but Sandra wasn't finished. Sandra walked to the window, her back to both of them, her hand unconsciously touching the thin scar on her wrist. The scar that had been there since she was 12 years old. I've been thinking about this scar a lot lately, she said quietly. Do you remember how I got it, Mom? Patricia's face paled further. That was an accident. I got a B+ on my algebra test. Not a B. A B+. But you were screaming about how I was wasting my potential, how I'd never get into a good college with grades like that. Sandra's voice was eerily calm. You grabbed my wrist. You squeezed so hard something cracked. The ER doctor asked me 3 times if I felt safe at home. She turned, tears streaming down her face. I lied for you. I said I fell off my bike. I was 12 years old, and I protected you because I thought that's what daughters were supposed to do. Sandra, I never meant to hurt you. Didn't you? Sandra's voice rose. Every time you grab my arm to emphasize a point. Every time you accidentally squeeze too hard. Every time you remind me that you fought for 60 hours to give me life, so I owe you. Patricia stepped forward, her hand reaching out, the same grabbing motion, the same control instinct. Sandra caught her mother's wrist midair. Their eyes locked. Don't ever touch me like that again. For the first time in her life, Patricia Thornwood faced her daughter as an equal, not a possession. I've spent my entire adult life making excuses for you, Sandra continued, her grip firm on her mother's wrist. Explaining away your temper. Justifying your control. Telling myself you only pushed because you loved me. She released Patricia's wrist, letting it drop. But love doesn't forge signatures. Love doesn't commit fraud. Love doesn't slap your son-in-law because you can't stand being wrong about him. John stood silent, letting Sandra have this moment. So here's what's going to happen, Sandra said, her voice steady despite the tears. I will help you find a financial counselor. I will help you find a therapist who specializes in gambling addiction. But I will not pay your debts. I will not let you live here. And I will not tolerate you disrespecting my husband ever again. You're just going to abandon me? Patricia's voice was small, broken. After everything I sacrificed? No, Mom. I'm going to save myself. Just like you taught me, by watching exactly what not to become. John stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. I'm not pressing charges for assault, Patricia. But that's contingent on you getting help and respecting our boundaries. Patricia looked between them, seeing the united front, seeing the door to her daughter's life closing to a narrow crack. What boundaries? Sandra took John's hand. Sunday dinner once a month here, supervised. You can text me but I'll respond when I'm ready. No surprise visits. No financial discussions unless I initiate them. And when you're ready to genuinely apologize to John, not justify, not explain, but actually apologize, we'll talk about expanding contact. And if I don't accept these terms? Patricia's voice dripped with bitterness. John answered quietly, then you'll watch your daughter's happiness from the outside looking in. Your choice. Patricia looked around the house she'd been so certain John could never afford. The house that represented everything she'd misjudged. She saw the memorial room through the open door, the photograph of Maria Wilcox smiling in her cleaning uniform. She thought of her own mother, who she hadn't spoken to in 15 years after a fight about Patricia's first marriage. The pattern repeating, generation after generation. She started then stopped. Pride warred with desperation on her face. She opened her mouth again and Sandra waited for the apology, the manipulation, or the explosion. Instead, Patricia said, I need to go. She walked past them, past the beautiful home, past the memorial to a woman she'd never appreciated. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floors Maria Wilcox had scrubbed 1,000 times. At the door she paused. The house is beautiful. She would have been proud. It wasn't an apology, but it was something. The door closed behind her. Sandra collapsed against John, crying, not just from grief but from relief, from release, from finally choosing herself. Did I do the right thing? She whispered. You did the brave thing, John said, holding her. And sometimes that's the same thing. 6 months later, the house on Maple Street was filled with warmth and laughter. John and Sandra hosted their first official dinner party. Friends from Sandra's work, colleagues from John's business, the couple from next door who'd brought over cookies when they moved in. The table was set for 10. 9 chairs were filled. The 10th sat empty, a place setting arranged carefully, hopefully. Sandra's friend Lisa noticed. Is someone running late? It's complicated, Sandra said, glancing at John. He squeezed her hand. Across town, Patricia Thornwood sat in a circle of metal folding chairs at Gamblers Anonymous. It was her 24th meeting. She raised her hand when the facilitator asked if anyone wanted to share. My name is Patricia, and I'm a gambling addict. I'm also a mother who destroyed her relationship with her daughter because I couldn't admit I was wrong. Her voice shook. I spent my whole life controlling her because I was terrified she'd make my mistakes. Instead, I made worse ones. On her phone, there was a draft text to Sandra. I'm trying. I'm sorry. Can we talk? Her finger hovered over send. She'd written this text 47 times in 6 months. She'd never sent it. Not yet. She needed to earn it first. At the dinner party, Sandra's phone buzzed. A notification from Facebook. Her mother had posted something. A photo of herself at a GA meeting, holding her 6-month chip. The caption read, Learning to love without controlling. One day at a time. I'm sorry, Sandra. Sandra showed John. Tears filled her eyes again, but different tears this time. Progress, he said softly. Maybe by Christmas, Sandra replied. They raised their glasses. The house echoed with laughter and life, the kind of life Maria Wilcox had dreamed of when she'd scrubbed these floors, imagining a future where her son would thrive. In the memorial room, a candle burned beside Maria's photograph. Its flame flickered, steady and warm, illuminating her gentle smile. The 10th chair at the table remained empty that night. But the place setting stayed. Some bridges take time to rebuild. But the foundation was there. And that, sometimes, is enough.